It's a great day to be alive and an artist. My name is Matt with the Hat, and today in our Audition series, we are going to talk about discoveries. So, as our Audition series has progressed, we started with relationship, then we went to conflict, the essence of all drama, then we followed that with the moment before, and last time we talked about humor and opposites. And today, we are going to talk about discoveries. Now, there is a term that is phrased in the acting community, and it is called the illusion of the first time. And it's the idea that even though you've rehearsed this multiple times, you are trying to create the illusion of the first time. And what I'm here to tell you is that the illusion of the first time is in and of itself an illusion. What do I mean? I mean that every time that you do a scene, it actually is the first time. There's no illusion. You may know the lines, but you have no idea what else might happen in the scene, right? So, for example, you may have the other performer in the scene, and they usually are jumping at this certain point for some reason. And then suddenly, in this next version, the person walks in and says it more subdued. Now, if an actor responds to it in the same way as when they jumped up and down, well, first of all, that's not going to be true. And secondly, they are not being in the moment. And being in the moment is absolutely essential for the actor. So, how does this relate to discoveries? Discoveries are an interesting thing because if it is the first time every time, and we are creating that moment from scratch, you're doing your monologue, right? And as you are doing it, you are discovering things about the character. So maybe if we go back to our monologue dealing with Romeo, right? Romeo is discovering his feelings for Juliet, and it's happening in the moment. He's discovering that light through that window that's coming in. He's discovering his feeling. It's that aha moment. And when I talk about the aha moment, I'm not just talking about a cerebral aha. Oh, I understand that math problem. More important are the internal ahas. Oh, I really think that. Oh, this has become true to me. So discovery in a monologue, and this is our next guidepost, in a monologue, discovery is not just the external aha, but the internal, all right? And so we also do want to make sure that we address the external aha, right? So there's the internal where we go, I've discovered something about myself that has become true, right? So you may be discovering, oh, I am learning about acting. I am learning how to discover in the moment, and that may be a thing that you're doing. And then there's the external, right? And in meditation, there's a thing called beginner's mind, right? And it's the idea that the more we approach life from beginner's mind, which is that everything's happening for the first time. See, babies or children, when they're discovering things, they don't discover them in the same way. They're not like, oh, I have all this experience in the world. They see something, they want to taste it, they want to see it, they want to feel it, they want to hear it. They are in a place of discovery of beginner's mind. And beginner's mind can be very, very helpful to an actor. With the idea of something happens and it's never happened before, right? Because plays happen in dramatic circumstances. Movies happen in dramatic circumstances. So when that person does that thing, you're discovering it, right? And in your monologues or in your scenes, whatever the person, usually a monologue isn't happening solo. Sometimes it is, but usually not, right? So what are you saying in that moment when you discover something, right? I know a lot of the time I'm in conversation with someone or another, and I'm a very observant person for the most part. And I'll notice a little flicker in their eye, right? Or I'll notice a little twitch happening in their mouth, or how they're holding their jaw, right? And I discover that they're reacting to something. And while I'm talking, I go, is there something going on there? Are you okay? What's happening, right? Those discoveries, even in a monologue, are essential, right? And the more fresh you make those discoveries, the more real you make the other person. For those of you who do a lot of like self-tapes or do your auditions through Zoom or different things like that, sometimes it's very beneficial to actually have the person across from you be another actor and react as you're doing it, because those little subtle reactions, they make it fresh. They make it real. They make it something that isn't so rehearsed, because that's the thing. I've noticed this with all actors, from a professional level, all the way down to this is my first show. It's kind of a universal thing that they get stuck into this rut, which is what these beginning audition lessons are really about, is how to not be in the rut everyone else is in, right? And the rut that usually happens is they do the same thing. They make the same choices, and the choices, frankly, are not very interesting. But when you add something fresh, when you go, oh, I'm talking to, and as I'm talking, let's say I'm talking to my dad, right? And I'm talking to him, and before I'm just rehearsing in front of a camera, or I'm prepared to do a monologue solo in front of people. But now I'm very specifically talking to my dad, and I say something that my dad was a very quiet person. My dad would just have this reaction and wouldn't say anything, but he was saying everything with that little expression in his eyes. And so I'm doing the monologue, and I noticed Dad doing that, and I change how I say the next sentence. Maybe it's more cautious, maybe it's more excited, maybe it's more subdued. I don't know, but I do know that however the other person in the scene is should infect and affect how I do my part, right? If a person, for example, were to flip me off while I'm having a monologue, I'm going to have a different response than if someone is smiling lovingly, right? And these are the things that give it freshness, right, when we're doing our monologue. So internal discoveries, that is true. External discoveries, something you observe or notice. Maybe that park bench that you usually sit at has dirt poop or bird poop on it, right? How does that affect, right? And we get away from the idea of it's the illusion of the first time, and we come with something fresh every time, right? I will say for TV and movie acting, sometimes, especially early on, people want you to do it the same way every time. But as you become more and more advanced in your craft and in your skills, what you're going to do is you're going to have a lot more freedom, right? That maybe you have to be in the same spot and you have to hit your mark and you have to do all of these things. But what you're really doing here now is now your character has variance. Now your character is reacting. Now your character is in the moment, and it's getting to that place. Now, I do want to say this, and this goes for every video that I've posted on auditioning. I've talked about being in the moment and in your head, right? And I'm going to do some more extensive stuff on that. Being in the moment, for me, I'm going to tell you a little story. So this is a high school story. There was this character that I was playing. This all happened in a rehearsal, and then it happened like every time I performed with this character. And the character was a preacher. And this preacher was having like this revival thing going on. And he's very loud, and he's very outspoken and all of this kind of stuff. And in the rehearsal, we're in it, and I was kind of playing more subdued at the time. And my director wanted to push me because her vision of this character was a lot more broad and a lot more big and a lot more old town revival style. And so she kept saying more. And so suddenly it hits, and I am in the moment, and I'm preaching, and I'm on fire, and and I go through the whole scene, line by line, word for word, everything, right? And I'm in the moment. And then at the end of it, everyone, it was like I woke up from a dream, and everyone's looking at me, and they're like, what's going on? And I remember being so stunned that everyone was looking at me, and also like it was from a dream, and I didn't know what had happened. And my director says, that is what you call focus. And I said, well, what do you mean? And she says, I asked you to stop 5 minutes ago. And I was so in the moment, and I let my imagination, I became one in the scene, and I let my imagination take over. And that was a huge discovery for me as an actor, is that anyone could have said anything in character to me at that moment, and I would have known how to respond, lines or not. And so being in the moment is being so into character that you don't need the script. The script is there because that's what you say, right? You are becoming that thing, right? Being in your head is, I have to sound a certain way. Being in your head is when the inner critic is telling you you're good or bad or whatever, right? And so, and every actor and every artist, honestly, is going to struggle with being in their head or being in the moment, right? But when you're in the moment, discoveries come naturally, right? So I just encourage you that as you're doing this, don't make it just a brain, like a left brain activity, but let your creativity run wild. I hope this helps you. You are amazing. I love you. Keep making art. Have a beautiful day.